Download the My Hingham app today and report issues and get information on town government with ease. Available on the App Store and Google Play. You can submit service requests or gain information with just a few taps on your phone. Using the My Hingham app puts immediate access to town resources in the palm of your hand, including calendars of meetings and events, agendas for upcoming meetings, building permit filing options, online bill payment options, and info about our boards, committees, departments, and services. For more information, please scan the QR code on your screen.
All right, good evening. It is 6:03 on August 26, 2025. This meeting of the Hingham Select Board is called to order. I'd note for the record this meeting is being held in person and or remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Act of 2025 and all other applicable laws temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that the chair may be informed of all other participants of said recording. Is anyone recording this meeting this evening? Seeing none, I know for the record participating in tonight's meeting are board members Liz Klein, Julie Straley, and myself, William Ramsey. With that, we will move to the Pledge of Allegiance. For those willing and able, please stand and face the flag of our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. I believe we have 3 sets of minutes tonight. Are you ready to move forward, Julie?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
With that, I take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated July 22nd, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. I'll take a second motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated July 29th, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor, Julie?
Aye.
Liz?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. And a third?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated August 12th, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is to consider the application of a restaurant common victular all alcoholic beverages license to Salty Days of Hingham LLC, doing business Salty Days. This item has been continued at the request of the applicant. The next date for this hearing will be held on September 9th, 2025. Next item on the agenda is to consider the application of a common victual license by Hook Pizza Company, 73 South Street, Brendan Higgins, manager. Do we have Mr. Higgins online today?
Yeah, he's coming in.
Brendan, good evening. How are you?
He's still muted.
So muted.
Could you unmute, please?
Sorry about that.
Brendan, if you could just start off by stating your name and position for the record.
My name is Brendan Higgins, and I am owner of Hook Pizza Company.
Well, good evening. What are you asking us to do tonight?
Well, I am rebranding and cleaning up the store, and I am asking for a common victualer's license.
All right, and so that the public's clear, this was the store previously, Peel Pizza, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And fair to say that you previously had a common victual license at Peel, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tom, does the police department have any concerns with this request?
They do not.
All right. Just one other question for you, Brendan. I know that you had, and you were the manager of Peel, correct?
Yes.
All right. I know you had a license and you gave it up at one point. Could you just briefly tell us why? Was it a business decision, or you just didn't think you needed it?
I'm sorry, do you mean give up the license as far as the, to operate as a pizzeria, as a common victor's license?
The liquor license.
Oh, the beer and wine? Oh, no, this is just for a common vic. That was after COVID, and we just decided to scrap the beer and wine license.
Oh, it's, okay.
But
All right,
I'm not
got it.
applying for a beer and wine license.
All right, great, thank you. All right, Julie, any questions?
So, thank you for keeping pizza in Hingham Square, and I'm a big pizza lover. But I wanted to just double check about the number of seats. Is it generally about the same number of seats inside that were there when Peel was open?
Yes, it's going to be the same footprint.
Okay, thank you.
Liz, any questions?
Yes, I reviewed the application, no questions or concerns. Brendan has been a great part of downtown Hingham, so thrilled to see you moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
Do any members of the public have any questions or comments about this agenda item? All right, seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Do you want to go, Julie?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I lost my piece of paper, sorry. I'll make a motion to approve the issuance of a common victualler license to Hook Pizza Company located at 73 South Street, Hingham, in accordance with the application for a common victualler license filed with the town of Hingham on August 21st, 2025, effective through December 31st, 2025. This approval is contingent upon receipt of an updated food permit issued by the Board of Health.
Second.
All those in favor, Julie?
Aye.
Liz?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. Motion carries unanimously. Brendan, good luck.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, next item on the agenda is to consider traffic control changes at the intersection of North Street and Lincoln Street. And we have, for the next couple items, we have JR and Sergeant Kilroy. So Jay, you're going to be up here for a little bit. So why don't you start off with this first item?
Yes, so we are looking at making traffic control changes at the intersection of Lincoln and North Streets. This is in conjunction with significant pedestrian improvements as well as traffic safety improvements for the square, for Fountain Square, as it's known. And in addition to that, it's also going to kind of work to restore some of the vista of what it looked like in the past and give us some opportunities that we want to capitalize on to generally improve how things look. So if I can quickly go to the actual plan. Do you have that up? No.
Saw it before.
It would have been a set of plans that were, in the title it says, as sent to the Historical Commission. It was basically the construction level plans for,
Traffic control changes in Fountain Square.
yeah. And if you just chase that down, there we go. Now we're into the pages. So among the changes, what people would currently characterize as the westerly leg of Lincoln Street coming around the Benjamin Lincoln, or rather the Abraham Lincoln traffic island, that western leg would be removed in its entirety. The intersection with Lincoln and North Street would be squared up as is shown here, and that would be reflected with a kind of a bump out in front of New North Church. If you go to the previous page, so there you'll see a significant extension of North Street sidewalk along the north side of North Street, so really facilitating a more complete pedestrian connection. And then if we go 2 sheets down, you can see how that, how the Abraham Lincoln Traffic Island, as I'll call it, becomes connected to all of that pedestrian accessibility accommodations, including a new RRFB crosswalk located at the northerly end of that traffic island. And that's going to make that space much more programmable and usable and accessible to the public. If you'd now like to go to the landscape architect design, so that's that first one, yeah. And just page down to like knock that down. There you can see the change in alignments and how that will expand the green space in front of New North Church while improving sight lines for traffic that is coming down Lincoln Street, able to look left and right. We will maintain a left and a right turn lane to make sure that we aren't excessively, to make sure that we aren't increasing any wait times for people moving through the intersection. Go ahead on to the next one. And then this would be kind of what you'd see if you were looking from the Benjamin Lincoln House into this new space. You can see the new sidewalk coming down where currently that traffic, you've got 2 lanes of Lincoln Street coming down. That's replaced by lawn and sidewalk. And then beyond that, we've got the reconfigured intersection. Continuing. So this is more of that park space and what it would conceptually look like, where you have a lot more accessible, usable space for the public. One more. And this is as you're approaching on North Street, you can see from this perspective how the vehicles, where they currently can accelerate out of the Central Street intersection, and they take that corner at speed so that they're very quickly above the speed limit, which is now, we'll discuss it later, but it's 25. So, so that's a 25-mile-an-hour zone, but people, because the geometry allows them to do so, they're more aggressive with that and head up Lincoln Street out of downtown at a more aggressive speed. So this will manage that. If you want to go back to the design plans, you know, all of this was very carefully reviewed with all of the abutters, including the New North Church. We had meetings in the New North Church with them and hosted all of the Lincoln Street and North Street abutters that were concerned about these changes. You can see on the south side of that traffic island where the sidewalk actually bumps in towards the Benjamin Lincoln House, and that was to provide the additional parking that is no longer available once you remove that leg. So not only does it provide parking, but it's also, we were also looking at it as the possibility for 1 or 2 school buses or tour buses that might be available to park within those spaces when there are scheduled arrivals and things like that. So there's sufficient room for that size of vehicle to offload a significant number of tourists or school children that are looking to take advantage of historical Hingham. So you can also see here where as you go up Lincoln Street, we will be maintaining a consistent curb line that's coming down the street. So Currently, when you come down Lincoln Street, the curb falls away to your right, going west along North Street, and then picks up again if you're going into downtown. One thing that wasn't completely captured in our review of incidents at this location, and it only became fully evident to us when we began discussing bringing the utility poles underground, is that the primary utility pole that sits right at the nose of the traffic island is frequently struck by vehicles. So by maintaining that curb line, we're going to reduce the number of strikes, and we're going to reduce the number of times that vehicles leave the roadway. So they're going to have a clear guidance about where they need to go. That'll keep them in the roadway, which makes for a safer environment. Now, we will be putting up some new gas lamp streetlights consistent with everything that we've got on North Street. So the aesthetic throughout that is maintained. Those new streetlights are what the RRFBs will be mounted on, just like in front of the post office. So we've got exactly the same setup there. I think I've covered most of the improvements. One of the big elements that I want to highlight is that the combination of encouraging Rev 250 tourism, significantly and permanently improving our pedestrian accessibility throughout downtown, all of those things gave us a great, message to take to MassDOT, and that kind of message is what awarded us the grant that's going to enable us to do this work.
Sergeant Kilroy, anything to add?
Is he?
No, sir. We met on this and agree with all the update and changes and the design structure. I think it'll greatly improve some of the safety on that area, especially for pedestrian traffic.
Great, thank you. All right, I've got a couple questions, JR. So can you go back to the drawing? Okay, so obviously I see this plan full of positives, right? So, and first of all, my first question was going to be socialization with the neighbors, but you've answered it, so that's great. So you met with the neighbors, they know that they're not going to be able to go up the other lane of Lincoln Street?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
and they seem to be pretty happy with it? the
They're
design?
much happier with the traffic calming elements and slowing vehicles down going up Lincoln Street.
Great.
And they were very appreciative that we protected the need for parking, which comes up, on Sundays and things like that.
So I love the fact it's going to be more pedestrian friendly, because I do know that that's a pretty high pedestrian area, particularly with tours going from the Old Ordinary over to the Benjamin Lincoln House. I like the idea of putting the beacon in to get people across the street safer. I think the grass proposal looks great. We've talked about a possible campus feel to that area, connecting three of our most historic buildings with the Old Ordinary, the Benjamin Lincoln House, and the New North Church.
Yes.
So that's all great. One of the things I also like about the project is the sight line. If you could point to that stop at the corner of Lincoln and North, right? So I probably stop at that stop sign almost every day. The sight lines looking to westbound traffic are extremely dangerous. Particularly when I have a passenger in the car. Like when my son was in the car the other night, I had to literally look around him because, it's just the angle of it.
Yeah.
It's a very dangerous angle. And then you have traffic kind of coming around the corner, people coming, the other way. Sometimes they use their directional, sometimes they don't. Obviously, you got to wait. But I like that measure as well. So just to go over with, I'm not sure if this is a question for you or Jeff, but is the angle going to solve that problem of looking west to westbound traffic and trying to get across that intersection?
This squares up your approach, so it completely solves that angle issue. Now you'll be looking, just as you would at any well-designed intersection, I'll look to my right and I'll be able to see oncoming traffic.
Great. And could you also show in the diagram, you talked about maybe potential school buses. Obviously, I know that the Historical Society has school children that tour the
Yeah.
house every year. It was my daughter's favorite trip last year, Deirdre, as you know. So could you show me where those buses would park again?
Yeah, if you, he's got the cursor hovering over it, but
Right
it's,
there, okay.
it's all the way across that little bump in of sidewalk. So that's all sidewalk, but then there's an 8-foot lane for parking that where buses can park, or if it's not buses, it'll be, a number of passenger cars.
Great. And I think that's a good design as well, because it allows people disembarking from the bus safe access up to the house.
Yep.
Yeah, which is great.
That's the intent.
So it's great, and I think this is probably the third time we've discussed it at one of our meetings as well, I think. Is that correct? At
That
least-
is correct.
Yeah, okay, awesome. All right, so let me turn to questions from the board. Liz, you want to go first?
Sure. Thank you, JR. Thank you for coming back again. This is an important project, and we certainly wanted the public to be aware of it and have a chance for input. And I know you've done a great job communicating with the abutters with the help of the Historical Society, so thank you for all of that outreach. I think the things that come to mind, obviously, are safety, traffic flow, accessibility, and budget. I know you've answered those throughout many presentations. And I know the Traffic Committee has reviewed this as well?
Yes.
Okay, and obviously, there's no concerns from the police or fire departments in terms of getting emergency vehicles through?
No, there's no issue with getting the emergency vehicles through. With having the left and right turn lanes, plus there's actually a drive-over trailing element. It'll either be painted or stamped concrete along the interior of that curve. Any size vehicle can get through that intersection without impediment.
Okay, great. And I think we talked about an RFB further up Lincoln Street by the Old Ordinary. Is that part of the plan as well?
Yes, that's the one that is up at that crosswalk there.
Okay,
So that RRFB is now actually being supplied through a separate grant that MassDOT has issued to the town. So we're excited about that. It's going to help us make the original Shared Streets grant go a little bit further, because that's like another 15, 20 grand
Right.
that we can put towards other elements within this.
and then that's a fully accessible path down to the Benjamin Lincoln House?
Exactly right. It'll be fully accessible, crossing the street and connecting back into their driveway so that they can safely get all levels of accessibility through that course without significant impediment.
Perfect. And I know, obviously, you've worked hard to get a grant for this project. Will that cover the entire budget?
It does not cover the entire budget, primarily because the Shared Streets and Spaces grant is laser focused on pedestrian, cyclist, ADA accessibility, and they will not pay for vehicle improvements. So the elements of the design that are more related to vehicle travel will be borne by the town. However, it's well within our budget. I've set money aside within Chapter 90 to accomplish this, and it will be managed through that process.
Okay. And will that cover the landscaping for the,
The landscaping actually ends up getting covered under the Shared Streets and Spaces grant.
great, perfect, thank you.
Great. Julie, any questions?
Well, I just love the pictures of this plan, not only the maps, but the actual pictures. And I love all the extra grass, especially in front of New North Church. That will really make the streetscape just much more beautiful. And the town would cut all of that grass, right? DPW would.
It is generally the town's responsibility, and it's kind of piling on our DPW crews that handle that. But yes, it would be cut by the town.
Okay.
And it currently is. So that portion of it that is currently lawn, it's currently managed by the town.
Yeah.
So this is just an extension of that, kind of a shift of it a little bit.
Can you tell me about the utility poles going underground? How many is that part of the project? And
It is part of the project. There are 2 utility poles that are going underground. Thank you for this opportunity to mention that it looks like we'll have an opportunity to piggyback an initiative by IT on upgrading the recently installed fiber. So Bill Hardigan, after he got the fiber installed, has always had an intention of increasing the fiber capacity between Town Hall, the SREC, and the public safety facility, and he wanted to make that a full loop. I think the term he used was like 198 pair, whereas right now it's a 24 pair. In discussing with him recently, our intention to drop those lines, he was looking at the splice point connections. He acknowledged that he already has quite a bit of material in stock, so we wouldn't necessarily have to pay for new material, and he may be able to advance his intention and get that first leg taken care of as part of this project. So there's a little bit of cooperative effort going on here. And there are 2 primary poles that will be taken down. One is the one that I discussed that's right at the nose of the traffic island currently. And then just below that, there's a pole-supported pole. So it has the leg coming down. Both of those would come out. We've identified with both Verizon, Comcast hasn't really talked to us much, but I'll find a pipe to put them in. And then we've got fiber that would go down. HMLP had no issues with bringing their power underground for this leg. And so we would be doing some conduit runs from the south side of North Street, all the way up to the first pole past the leg, which is just off screen there to the north.
can you like highlight where the poles are on the map? The current.
So if you look at where the wording says North Street, and there's a highlight there that just says retain, I believe that says retain the utility pole. That's basically, there are like 2 poles right there that we would drop down on for all the utilities. We'd bring them all together across Lincoln Street, or across North Street in one trench. They'd run up the side of the new sidewalk going to the north. And then they would come up, again, just off screen, pretty close to where you can see the percentage zoom on the, at the tippy top there.
Yep.
I don't know if you can scroll up just a hair. It looks like we've got a little bit more room. There we go. There's a retain pole up at the top there that's highlighted.
Yep.
That's the location
Okay.
that we'd come up at.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then just one other question. I lost my piece of paper.
Can I just ask a question, Julie?
Yeah.
So has that been communicated to the abutters as well? Is that a new pole in front of a
It's not a new
residence?
pole. It's an
Okay.
existing pole
Okay.
that we're gonna come up on.
Got it. Thank you.
So we're taking a couple poles down, but we're not adding
Got it.
any new ones.
Okay, then finally, just the extra parking that, you're moving the parking that was on that leg that's going to become a sidewalk now, and you're moving it down to North Street.
Yes.
And do you have plans at all, or would you ever have plans to actually like mark car lengths within the parking spaces, or it's just going to be like a stretch of?
Open season?
Yeah.
We could certainly mark that out as car lengths. I think the intention of the Historical Society on the periodic times that they would be anticipating larger groups, they might bring cones out or request that kind of assistance from DPW,
Okay.
just to say, hey, we're actually getting buses, so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Do any members of the public have any questions or comments? Art, if you could bring up the Zoom. Don't see anyone with their hands raised. Oh, there we go. Mark. Mark, good evening. Name and address, please.
Good evening, Mark Monagario, 10 Cliff Road. Also a member of the traffic committee, but wanted to speak more on my professional occupation and meeting planning. The idea of the bus parking there is fantastic because, as I said, personally, in my professional job, in some cities, trying to find a spot for bus for tour groups and things is very, very challenging. I think in terms of if we want to try to generate more tourism for the town, it's a fantastic opportunity just to have a couple of spaces, even if it's just one.
Mark, thank you very much. Would anyone else like to offer any comment or have any questions?
Bill, do you mind if I just,
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
I just wanted to note, so I've been here since 2016, and in 2016, it was a very popular effort at the time was to try to bring crosswalks in different places to get the public out onto what is a traffic island and is in fact not a park, despite the narratives to the contrary. It was wholly unsafe. We knew it at the time. This plan just solves that problem and brings the public out to what I humbly believe is the most beautiful piece of art this town has, and that's that Lincoln statue. So I'm just thrilled that this, and JR's design was fantastic, and Deirdre, thank you for everything you did to make this a reality. This is great.
Can I ask another quick question?
Of course, yeah, go ahead.
JR, the flashing lights, they're further up on,
Yep.
on Lincoln Street, but is there any that RFB planned for in front of New North Church as well? That that crosswalk?
So we don't plan for one at that crosswalk, and the primary reason is that that one being at an obvious physical intersection of two roads, and with clear sight lines for all of the drivers that are approaching, they should be able to very easily recognize that a pedestrian is looking to make that crossing. It doesn't increase the significance of needing that type of additional signalization that would inform a driver that someone is looking to cross. Because that crosswalk that is at roughly the current nose of the traffic island, that one being at a mid-block crossing where traffic is either coming down the hill, approaching an intersection, or, exiting the intersection and coming up the hill. This will give them that additional information to know that they need to stop and allow someone to cross.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Deirdre Anderson on behalf of the Hingham Historical Society, and it has been our privilege to partner with the town on this project, underwriting the landscape architect sketches to give us the pretty pictures for socialization. But I really do want to thank JR and the traffic committee and Tom. And Bill, we stood out there, seemed like many years ago. This all started our interest, obviously, with the acquisition of the Benjamin Lincoln House, no safe pedestrian access to that property. Our first planning board hearing, as we permitted that home to move from a residence to a museum, was how are people going to get there? So what started with the crosswalk, I think, will be enormously beneficial to our whole downtown area. And I'm very, very grateful for the board's consideration of this. The generosity of the town citizens in investing what's now $1.3 million between the old ordinary CPC award of 2025 and the Benjamin Lincoln House award in 2020. This is just such a lovely connection piece and adding green space to the town without sacrificing parking, which is important to our neighbors at New North. And I hope too, one of my favorite lines as we focus on our beautiful historic downtown is, Bill, when you said cars hitting buildings is not normal. And I've learned so much through JR that I hope that the friction that is going to be created on North Street with both cars parking on both sides of the roads now and pedestrians on both sides of the road will calm traffic as it enters Hingham Square, and that will benefit everyone. So, but I truly just wanted to thank the Traffic Committee and the town and the Select Board for considering this. I do think it will be a beautiful tribute, and to think no power lines over Abe's head will be so beautiful. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Deirdre. Thanks for all you do. JR, if we were inclined to support this proposal, what would be the time frame? When would you start, and how long would the work take, you think?
I started yesterday.
Okay.
So
Back to our early discussion, doesn't it?
actually, like I said, we have secured the initial funding, although we're still working through the contract documents. Right now, we're in the midst of a heavy paving season and trying to get through that. So our contractors are committed. As soon as we get through that paving and pave the bathing beach and pave Town Hall, there are a handful of different pieces. Our contractors are going to start working on this fall, provided everyone's in agreement. And then the intent would be to have everything, kind of loamed and seeded for a spring grass and have everything ready to go April, May of next year, going right into a wonderful summer season.
Great. I'm thrilled about this project. Couldn't be more excited about it, and thanks for all your work. Sounds like I think we have consensus here. If you're inclined, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the recommendation of the Traffic Committee for the improvements to the intersection of North Street and Lincoln Street, also known as Fountain Square, as presented on the attached plans titled Hingham North Street at Lincoln Street Pavement Marking and Signing Plans, dated April 4th, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, JR.
Exciting, thank you. Thanks
All
for
right.
all the work on this. Thank you, Deirdre.
Next item on the agenda is to establish a speed limit of 25 miles per hour on certain streets in Hingham. So JR, why don't you walk us through this continued effort here?
Sure. So if you want to go back to the 2022 memo. It's hidden behind the Zoom pieces. There we go. And then just go quickly to the bottom of that. So back in 2022, the Traffic Committee identified, I'll call it an informal policy of how to approach the town's ability to make our residential streets operate at a safer traffic speed that's appropriate to those locations. So, and one of the challenges was we didn't want to simply create a blanket 25-mile-an-hour speed limit throughout town where that isn't the appropriate speed for certain roads. So one way that we were able to address it was through this policy, we would, if MassDOT provided a functional classification of a road as local, then that street would be eligible for a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. Specifically, that excluded collector and arterial roads. So those are the other classifications that MassDOT provides. And obviously, or perhaps not obviously, but collector and arterial roads both provide a different type of vehicle transportation that allows a higher volume of traffic, and you have traffic that is not destination-oriented, but traffic that is through the location-oriented. And so for all of those reasons, we put together this policy. Now, the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, even though it encompassed a portion of downtown, we identified that as a downtown business district that required a lower speed limit for people to safely go to all of our businesses and to safely navigate those roads. Similarly, there would be on certain very specific location streets identified by the police, we would apply a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, and this is specifically at Levitt Street where it was applied, where the geometry of the roadway, both in vertical curvature, horizontal curvature, the narrowness of the lanes, and the proximity of obstacles within the right-of-way, specifically trees, that would result in, if people traveled at a higher rate of speed, it was resulting in numerous sideswipe collisions between vehicles and generally an unsafe, the drivers were not navigating that roadway safely under the existing condition. So,
Are you talking about Levitt Street or Lizelle, Charles?
oh, I'm sorry, Lizelle,
Okay.
my bad. I guess the description of it cued you in to what I was actually.
Well, I live on
talking
Levitt
about.
Street, so I was like, oh, it's 25.
So with that, we kind of rolled out throughout town the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit on any road that could conceivably be used as a cut-through road that met these criteria. However, mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa, I am human and I didn't catch them all. So this proposal now, and if you want to go to the, that next memo, this proposal catches us up. I believe it completes the list of streets that are appropriate for the 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. The traffic committee agreed with that recommendation and has made that recommendation to the select board that these remaining streets be included with that. If you want to just scroll down to the actual plans and zoom out a bit. Water Street, that section of Water Street originally was not included. However, because the lower section of Water Street, or the harbor section of Water Street, is included in the downtown business district, we found that the additional signage with different speed limits would be confusing to drivers, and we believed it made much more sense to simply extend that 25 up to Main Street. And so you can see that the extension of 25 from Elm Street up to Water Street on Main Street, and then the extension of the 25 from where we ended it at the cemetery entrance all the way up to Main Street on Water Street. That covers up those two pieces. It provides consistent regulatory framework that drivers can adhere to. So continuing on to the next one. Kilby Street is one where ever since we made the traffic safety improvements at the intersection of 3A and Kilby Street, it's significantly changed the nature of that roadway. It is effectively a residential street, and so we've made the recommendation on Kilby Street as well. And it's actually, we did not apply it to the commercial section, which is below the MBTA track, but we applied it to the residential section above the MBTA track. So continuing. So this, and a huge oversight on my part, and I don't know how I missed it, but this neighborhood was omitted originally It is obviously a residential neighborhood. It does get a slightly larger amount of traffic due to the conservatory. And so, you know, I've got a lot of residents in there saying, well, why isn't our speed limit even lower than 25? But 25 is legally what we're permitted to do. So continuing down. So this picks up a handful of streets off of French Street on the Weymouth side of French Street. And so this will finish out that side of Hingham between High and Fort Hill. And then continuing. So this is a section of streets off of Hersey Street, but primarily it impacts Smith Road, which has a pretty long straightaway. And where vehicles were inclined to find another route through, another back road through Hingham, they have been taking Smith Road, which is a local street and it should be a 25-mile-an-hour street. And it's actually highlighted on the next piece. Smith Road is. You can see that it's a long straightaway that unfortunately people have been a little too aggressive on. Go ahead and scroll down to the next one. There it is. And you can see how that connects into Hobart Street. And I think that concludes the 25-mile-per-hour streets.
Sergeant Kilroy, do you have anything to add?
No, sir. We've been working together on this stuff. Nothing to add.
Well, thank you. This was, it's interesting. So I believe Town Meeting 21 adopted the special legislation from the legislature, which allowed municipalities to reduce it to 25. And then we had to wait a while because we had some ongoing litigation around the thickly settled 30 mile, but thankfully went away. And as soon as that went away, I remember, calling Tom up. I'm like, let's get that on the agenda. Let's get that on the town meeting, voted very strongly for it.
Yep.
Let's get it down to 25. I would note a couple things. First of all, to people who ask me this, JR is right. We cannot lower it, we cannot make it any lower than 25, right? So there are areas of town where I wish we could make it 20 or 15, some high pedestrian travel, but we can't. 25 is the lowest we can go. And I mean, I'm all for this. When I was on the traffic committee for many years as the planning board rep, residents would come and talk about speed. That was always their concern in some of these neighborhoods. And, keep it coming. I mean, I want to slow people down. People drive way too fast. One of the first cases I did as a prosecutor was just a tragic fatality, but it was solely attributed to a younger driver driving way too fast and just out of control. And it was all speed. So the more we can slow people down, the happier I am. So thank you for doing this. And with that, I'll turn to Julie.
I think this is a great idea to clean up any loose ends in this plan, and I'm totally in support. Thank you.
Liz?
Thank you. I appreciate, Jeff and JR, all the work on this and your commitment to it. We've been asking for, obviously, safety and traffic calming are big priorities. One question about Conservatory Park, I do agree with those residents. Is there any, do we have any leeway there because it's technically a school zone
It's not
or part of it?
defined as a school.
There is a school there.
It is, it doesn't, the challenge is that we could possibly do it at the very back of the park,
Yeah.
but it's all of those streets coming up to it that everyone is more aggressive on anyway, because they want to drop their kids off,
They're
and
trying
get
to
to work,
get
and do the
there
thing.
Yeah.
So we're better off in that particular instance of just providing consistent signage, consistent enforcement. If people would respect the 25-mile-an-hour sign, when you look at the actual distances that we're talking about, the difference between 25 and 35 is a matter of 10 seconds. It is not a significant impediment to your day. And if you just remember that, like, these roads aren't intended for that kind of speed. The collector roads, the arterial roads, drive as you feel safe. And I have no problem with that, and I do it myself. Although I work harder to respect the speed limits in Hingham than anywhere else.
Smart.
Another question, do you think we should reconsider the approach? Meaning, should it be 25 everywhere unless otherwise posted?
I don't see a need to do that.
Okay.
When you look at several of the other streets that we'd be talking about, High Street between Weymouth and Main Street is a big collector that we want to be able to move traffic through safely. The Cushing Street connector up to Derby Street, another big collector. Even Ward and French are appropriately collector roads with a slightly higher speed limit. But they're wide roads, they can be safely navigated, and we still need to be able to maintain the movement of traffic through town. So providing those appropriate streets that allow people to move from point A to point B safely while keeping those speeds off of our destination locations, which are places like downtown and our residences. That's, in my opinion, the best way to, it's a little bit of managing the psychology of the driver. And you give them the outlet that's appropriate, and you restrict the behavior that you really want to push back on.
Yes, I understand that, and I agree
Yeah.
with you. I guess the only positive I see to the other is just setting the expectation that it's 25, you drive
Right.
slowly when you enter our town, and it would be less signage potentially.
It would be less signage, generally, because obviously, when we originally did this, up and down Main Street, both sides, every intersecting street got a sign. So that once you turned off Main Street, you knew absolutely. Coming off Downer Ave, going into Crow Point, every single intersection gets a sign. Now, those signs are all up, so there isn't any, at this point, there isn't, I mean, there'll be a handful of signs with this, but there isn't any additional significant expenditure related to that. And I certainly concede the point that from a blanket perspective, it makes sense. Even with the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, where you have established regulatory signage, it doesn't change that. So all of those 40-mile-an-hour sections of Main Street that were regulated under the state, like the state established those speed limits back when it was a state road, all of those would stay regardless, whether it was 35, 40, or whatever. So you're right in the sense that blanket 25, if it's unsigned, is a very simple approach. I do think that there is a benefit to providing that additional traffic capacity on streets like Cushing, Gardner,
Sure,
Lower Gardner, not Upper Gardner,
yeah,
Ward and French.
okay. Thank you.
So I'm going to respectfully disagree with you, and I agree with Liz. I understand what you're saying about the collector roads.
Yep.
I don't see why 25 miles an hour would cause traffic congestion on a High Street or a Gardner. The only road I probably wouldn't support 25 miles an hour on would be Main Street. Because that's, a state road, it's a main artery through our town.
Yep.
But all those collector roads that Liz is talking about, I'm going to ask the traffic committee to consider 25 miles an hour blanket across the entire town, with the exception of maybe Main Street. Because and maybe Sergeant Kilroy could look at motor vehicle accident data on those streets, could look at, put the trailer out there. I know the trailer not only flashes the speed limit, but it also collects data for the traffic committee, right? You can gauge what speed limits are and study them a little bit, and maybe discuss it with the committee, and maybe come back to us with a recommendation. If the committee thinks that, no, those collector streets should be a higher speed limit, then that's okay with me, but I'd like you to take a hard look at it, because I know other towns have done that, where they've kind of blanketed 25 miles an hour for the entire community, and personally, I think that's a good idea, to slow people down. And like, even some of those streets, like High Street, well, we have a very dangerous intersection there between French, Ward, and High that we're going to talk about later tonight. Gardner Street, very winding road. There's been some very serious motor vehicle crashes on that street. Years ago, it was a very serious one. So something to think about. I'm going to ask you just to take it back to committee and maybe consider that, but obviously I'll defer to what the committee recommends.
Very good. Yeah, we'll absolutely take a look at that as another option.
Great.
And a change of policy. Yep.
Outstanding, thank you. Any members of the public have any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, if ready for a motion?
I have a quick question about
Yeah.
the motion. Should I read out all the names of the streets as part of the motion?
A lot of them on there.
It's fine, but I just wanted to.
I think if you reference the figures, I just made a note to remind Sam tomorrow to make sure that she includes these maps with the minutes going forward. So if you just reference the figures, those will all be inferred in the record through the maps.
Okay. I'm fine either way, but, okay.
Great.
So I make a motion to accept the recommendation of the Traffic Committee and establish a speed limit of 25 miles per hour in the following areas of Hingham as described below and on the attached maps titled Section 17C Streets, figures 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19 under Mass General Law, Chapter 90, Section 17C, and Article 25 of the 2022 Town of Hingham Annual Town Meeting.
Second.
All those in favor, Julie?
Aye.
Liz?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. All right, and the last item for JR is to discuss agenda item 8, which is Complete Streets Prioritization Plan. So talk us through this, JR.
Yes. So, Complete Streets Prioritization Plan. The Complete Streets program is a program that MassDOT set up, I want to say, in the late teens. And what it requires, and it's a grant-based program to fund infrastructure improvements within the right-of-way that promote safety for all users of the roadways, hence Complete Streets. So you're looking at transit, you're looking at pedestrians, you're looking at cyclists, you're looking at improving ADA accessibility wherever you can, and you're looking at improving traffic safety. So vehicles are not omitted from Complete Streets the way they are omitted from shared streets. You can ask MassDOT about why that is. So with that, it's a step-by-step process that they require. The first step in that process is to have the town adopt a Complete Streets policy, which we did several years ago. I want to say around 2021. It was one of the first things that I wanted to get done. And then it took me a little while, spinning my wheels, to get moving on the prioritization plan. That is the second step. Once you've come up with a prioritization plan, and the prioritization plan itself was informed through a significant amount of public interaction. So we obviously discussed it several times in traffic committee meetings. I think we discussed it once in the select board in announcing the public interface that we had, because we set up a wiki map where individuals could go in from home and click either linear segments of roadway or intersections and identify improvements that they thought would be appropriate in those locations. So it was very public-oriented in terms of driving the safety element. Along with that, the traffic committee, Sergeant Kilroy and I, we were also looking at the number of vehicle crashes and working to provide additional traffic safety elements within this program as well. So with all that public input, our consultants came back with, I believe it's 22 different projects, 22 discrete projects as defined under the guidance that MassDOT provides. And it's a variety of projects. In some cases, it might be a change of.
Art, can you blow that up a little bit for people who might be on Zoom?
Sure.
We obviously, we have a handout, but I want the public to maybe see it a little bit, if you could. Maybe a little more. Okay, that's a little better. Okay, thank you, Art. Appreciate it.
So there are a handful of different types of projects that are outlined here. Some of them are intersection control with changing up the intersection control to provide safer intersections. Yes, that's safer vehicle interactions, but it also improves pedestrian safety. All these projects would also improve pedestrian and cyclist safety. But it can also be things like improving the connections for either our housing population to the MBTA. So we looked at the Beale Street corridor for providing either shared use path or significant improvement in the pedestrian facilities that we have. We looked at infill for new sidewalk, whether it's on Charles Street and connecting a lot of those neighborhoods back into Main Street eventually. There would be different segments that would be required for that, or connecting more people to be able to walk through those wooded areas and get into Wampatuck State Park. There are some trail accesses off of Charles Street and Lozelle that you can access efficiently. Generally improving traffic flow and pedestrian accommodations at locations like Cross Street and Myers Farm Road, where because of the speed of vehicles on Cross Street and sometimes some sight distance challenges, we can relocate crosswalks so that they're safer for everyone involved, and particularly for the kids when they're getting ready to get on the buses in the morning or getting off the buses and going home in the afternoon. You've got other infill sidewalk projects such as Canterbury or Longmeadow, which kind of do similar things where for one reason or another, when those roads were constructed, sidewalk was either determined to not be necessary or the physical limitations of the right-of-way prevented an easy construction of sidewalk. Well, what we would do with Complete Streets funding is we would address that additional expense by chasing the grant to take care of those excess costs that would exceed what we would normally budget for sidewalk work. So as another example of the project itself, so I'll let everyone know, our intent is to, provided the select board endorses this, our intent is to submit this to MassDOT so that we can begin the process of applying for construction grants for work. The September 1st is the deadline for submitting the prioritization plan. October 1st is the deadline for submitting the application for construction grants. Now, I have a conceptual plan of what our first construction grant would be, and I'd like to show it to you, and then I'd like to bring you a more formalized and polished plan in a couple of weeks prior to actually submitting the application. That first Complete Streets construction grant would be for the construction of a roundabout at Main Street and Middle Street. So it's the Main Street, Middle Street, Short Street intersection, which connects Center Hingham to the high school and eventually downtown. And it allows navigation of that 228 corridor for a significant amount of traffic. If you'd like to go to the, there we go. So this is the concept of the roundabout as currently proposed and configured. This concept does not require any property takings. So all of the work can be constructed either within existing town right-of-way or on town common. Now, the elements that are included on town common are consistent with existing uses of town common, so it does not require Article 97 legislation or a town meeting vote. So all of this can be accomplished basically within the space that is under your control. We have highlighted a couple fringe areas along the perimeter, particularly on the north side of Main Street, where we do have to either, reconstruct someone's driveway in that brief space to make sure that everything will match in, or address a little bit of grading with loam and seed. But that's the extent of private property impact. And it's consistent with what would happen when we do any kind of street reconstruction. With that, I'll also add, this concept came about through a longer process where there was a fatality at this intersection. So Sergeant Kilroy and I quickly engaged with our consultant and MassDOT to do a road safety audit. That road safety audit identified several different possibilities for improving this intersection and making it a safer intersection for all road users generally. However, different pieces of, or rather different approaches to that work would have required, for example, Article 97 legislation in the case of signalizing it, because it's a change in use of the town common. So if we put new signals in the town common, then that's generally considered a change in use, whereas reconstructing an existing sidewalk is not a change in use. So in addition to that, we did do an alternatives analysis as well. And what we found was that both in terms of traffic delay and safety, being the two most important considerations that we were looking at, the roundabout performed best of all of the alternatives that we were looking at. The one negative on the roundabout at the time was the cost, although in reevaluating that as the design has progressed, that cost element has actually come down and is closer to the cost of what signalization might be. So all in all, we feel that this is a significant safety improvement, but it'll also provide safer connections for all road users with the addition of RFB at the Short Street leg. And I think there was also going to be another RFB possibly on the Main Street crossing between kind of like the east side of that. Or rather, that would be the south side, now that I'm looking at it closely. But that primary Main Street crossing, there would likely be an RFB there as well. So with that, This one, like I said, I'd like to get formal plans that are a little more definitive to you within the next 2 to 3 weeks. We are also looking at having a third-party consultant take another look at our analysis and make sure it's consistent with what we found originally, that this is going to improve safety and improve delays better than all the other alternatives. Are there any questions?
Before we take questions, Sergeant Kilroy, could you speak to the safety audit and/or the motor vehicle crash data at that intersection? If you're able to.
Yes, sir. It is a significant area of concern for us. We have, since 2021, we've had about 25 crashes there.
25.
So it definitely is a concern, especially during the school hours at the end of the day, and also, in the start of the morning, the commuting hours are considerably more, worrisome for us. This was also we received some student feedback too. They had a project that the kids wanted to work on. So ironically, they brought it to our attention shortly after that fatality. And that also, went towards our investigation of this endeavor.
Jeff, you said there's been 25 accidents there since 21?
Yes, sir.
Wow, significant. All right. I'm also going to note that this intersection directly feeds right to Hingham High School going down Middle Street. So there are significantly large numbers of younger drivers trying to get across that intersection, either coming up Main, trying to bolt through traffic to get over to Middle, or coming down Middle, trying to get over to Main. And it's very, very dangerous intersection. It's been one that we've been concerned about for many years. I mean, I'll even pull up that intersection, go right, then go left up by the Gold Star Monument statue and cut onto Middle sometime, or coming out of the high school, I'll go down by GAR and try to get on to Main Street down there because it's just safer, to get across. And I've been someone who's been driving that intersection for a long time. So I think this is great. I appreciate the fact you're going to come back to us with a final plan before we make a final vote to go forward. But I think this is something that it's a problem intersection. We need to address it. I fully understand that not everybody's going to love the roundabout, but I feel like we need to do something. And it sounds like the traffic committee think this is the best suggestion. Sounds like you think it's the best suggestion. Jeff and the police department do as well. So I'm all for taking some action to make it safer. And with that, I'll turn to Liz if you have any questions.
Great, thank you, JR, and thank you, Jeff. There's no denying that this is a dangerous intersection and something needs to be done, so I appreciate all the work that's gone into this and looking at the alternatives. And I think you mentioned you're also seeking an outside consultant or third-party assessment as well?
Yeah, we have our original assessment from our consultant, but we'd like to have somebody just take a fresh set of eyes and take a look at it and make sure that it's consistent with what we believe to be true.
Great. I think that's a good approach, and I appreciate you being thoughtful about that. And I know this has been presented, it's been mentioned at a select board meeting as well as traffic committee meetings. How else can the public be engaged or submit feedback or get involved in this process over the next month?
So over the course of the next month, I would invite people to attend that next select board meeting when I'm able to bring that back. My suspicion would be that we'd probably want to bring it back maybe either the 16th or 23rd. And that we could publicize that as a means of getting more of that direct feedback as well. Prior to that, we'll have a traffic committee meeting that they'll also be able to come forward. One piece of it is we'll be having a more rigorous discussion of all of the different projects within that. And a lot of that, the prioritization plan itself it's a living document. So it is not intended to be, this is set in stone, and this is how we will proceed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is not how it works. What we will do is we will continue to review it and revise it as needed. And when opportunities present themselves, one thing that we didn't highlight, but if you go back to the prioritization plan quickly, and scroll down to the bottom of that page, you can see that there are already 4 projects that were identified, those are highlighted in blue, that we're already moving forward on. One of them is the Fountain Square improvements. One of them is the RRFBs that we received a grant for that are going up at 7 different locations around town. One of them is the RFB installation at Foster School, crossing Downer. And another one is making sidewalk improvements that are currently happening along Downer Ave to improve that pedestrian accessibility. Mea culpa, we're not going to quite get it in time for the school open, but it is going to happen within the next month that all of that sidewalk will be completed. So these aren't things that, as opportunities present themselves, we will jump in and pick a project that matches up with other work that we're doing, either in that right-of-way space, we can bring it all together, or because there's some other opportunity or issue that has arisen that we want to more aggressively address. So this is something that we can continue to talk about going forward. And again, going back to the Complete Streets grant process, just to also set expectations, while we're very hopeful that we'll be able to get a construction grant in year 1, I would set the expectation that, provided that we do get that grant in year 1, it's most likely going to be 3 or 4 years before we get another construction grant from the Complete Streets program. But it's for exactly that reason that we keep revisiting this, identify what our priorities are, and then identify where we can address some of these issues with our existing funding sources, where it marries up to other projects that weren't necessarily slated just for Complete Streets.
Okay, I appreciate you saying that about the plan. Will these individual projects come back before us, or?
They would
Are we
all come
approving
back
the whole
before, no, what I'm asking for the endorsement of is generally that we can put these projects in front of MassDOT as a broad categorization of things that Hingham would like to do at some point. But it is not, once we get into the details, we may find, for example, we may get into a detail and find that to construct the sidewalk we want to construct is going to have excessive environmental impacts. Well, we may have to scale that project back a little bit, or it may have excessive property impacts where we don't necessarily find the benefit to be commensurate with the taking of private property to accomplish that goal. So again, these were very conceptual projects that were kind of put together through this public forum, but they don't lock us into any particular item of that.
Okay,
So we would always bring these projects back to the select board for approval of the actual project.
okay, perfect, thank you. I think that's an important point. I think in general, most people would support more sidewalks in town.
Yeah.
But it's hard to know exactly what the impact is, and if that's cutting into, I'm thinking of by Crestfield, that would cut into front yards, and the old Colony Montessori School, it's
Right.
tight there.
It's very
right?
tight, or you're taking down, I don't know if those are considered historic stone walls, but they're certainly picturesque, if nothing else. You're also talking about taking down town trees.
Right,
So there are a lot of impacts as you start widening the accessible space within the right-of-way.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate your thoughtful approach to this.
Julie?
Thanks, JR. There are a number of really problematic intersections in our town, and I feel like the middle short Main Street is really close to or at the top of the list.
Yep.
It is very confusing. I drive through that intersection almost all the time, every day, and cars, you can just see, they don't know what to do. They're trying to play a little bit of game of chicken, and then compounding it with the young drivers. And when my kids were learning how to drive, I just said, do not drive through that intersection, which it shouldn't be the answer or the suggestion, because people have to get through that intersection. So we need to do something, talking about just that one project and that
Yes.
application. So I like the idea that we'll have opportunities later this month for community input. I love the idea of getting one more third-party review on this project and this plan to make sure that we've got everything right. And, 25 crashes since 2021. It's just, we have to do something, to repeat what they said. And then talking about the whole plan, I definitely appreciate that it's a living document that will change over time, but I love that it is an attempt to identify and document and make plans for what the town could do over time. And then, more importantly, on top of that, getting grant funding, potential for grant funding, so that the state can step in and help us with that. So, thank you.
And it is really important to put all of this stuff in a document because it needs to live past me.
Yep.
It needs to, it shouldn't be tied to just stuff that's in my head, which is often the case. And by having this kind of formalized in this way, it's something that's going to carry past anything I do. So I think that's important.
So, thank you.
Do any members of the public have any questions or comments about this agenda item? All right, seeing none. We ready to move forward?
I'm ready.
Ready? All right, with that, I would take a motion.
I'll make a motion to endorse the Complete Streets Prioritization Plan as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. The motion carries unanimously. And, JR, I just wanted to say, you're doing some great work here. You really are. And you juggle a lot of different balls in the air. I know that you and I talk weekly about issues in town, and just thank you for all you're doing. You are doing some great work. Sergeant Kilroy, the consummate professional, one of the best police officers that I've ever worked with. And I also want to give a compliment to the traffic committee for all the work they're doing as well, supporting you and Sergeant Kilroy. So thanks very much for all you're doing, and keep up the great work.
Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? That's all you got tonight, right, Chair?
I just want to point out that JR said something about, living past him. He's promised he's not leaving. So
Yeah,
just so everyone knows.
I was thinking the same
I
thing when you
appreciate
mentioned that.
things being
We're not leaving anytime
documented,
soon.
but you can't leave.
Yeah.
Yes, it's-
All right, so we'll see you back in a couple weeks.
Yes.
All right, and you let us know the 16th, 23rd, whatever meeting works best for you to come back, and we can share up the final plan and maybe talk about some other initiatives as well.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Good. All right, thanks, Sergeant Kilroy. Good seeing you. Have a great night.
Thank you.
All right, agenda item number 9 is going to be tabled, which brings us to agenda item 10, which is appointments and/or reappointments, and I believe we have a couple appointments this evening.
I would like to make several appointments, reappointments to get the Human Rights Commission back in order. They have a number of members, and I just want to make sure that everyone has been reappointed with their correct term, so if you'll bear with me. I'll make a motion to reappoint John Marquardt to the Human Rights Commission as recommended by the Police Department for a term ending June 30th, 2028.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well, motion carries.
Make a motion to reappoint Tim Miller Dempsey to the Human Rights Commission as recommended by the School Committee for a term ending June 30th, 2027.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well, motion carries.
Make a motion to appoint David Alschuler to the Human Rights Commission as recommended by the Council on Aging for a term ending June 30th, 2028.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well, motion carries.
I'll make a motion to appoint Ness Carenti to the Human Rights Commission as recommended by the Affordable Housing Trust for a term ending June 30th, 2028.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well, motion carries.
I'll make a motion to appoint Kelly Alessi to the Human Rights Commission for a term ending June 30th, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well, motion carries.
I'll make a motion to reappoint John Bradley to the Human Rights Commission for a term ending June 30th, 2027.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well, motion carries. All right, Liz, thanks for your work with
Thank
that.
you.
Appreciate Sharon's hard work too in
Yes,
making those.
thank you,
getting
Sharon,
those
for
dates happen.
keeping us organized.
All right, next item on the agenda is public comment. Does any resident have a public comment point they want to make this evening? Seeing none, that takes us to Town Administrator Select Board report. So let's start this evening with Brittany.
I do not have anything, thank you.
All right, Art.
Sure, thank you. I just have one item. I just want to share with the community that we are poised to launch Local Government Academy 2025. Tomorrow we'll have online information about our second iteration that will build on our success last year and invite 20 residents to participate in a 9-session program to learn about how the town works, administration and operations and all departments. We got some feedback, constructive feedback from the last class. We're implementing that in our design. We'll have sessions that are a little bit shorter, but also a lot more active. And we'll be implementing a couple of new tours, including the entire public safety facility and the water treatment plant operated by the Weir River Water System. So we're looking forward to engaging with the community. We think this is a great way for our department heads to share their enthusiasm and to share what we're working on and get great feedback from the community. Through our social media and through our press release, which we'll issue tomorrow, we'll give folks a little bit more information, including how to sign up or complete an application through the town's website.
All right, thank you. Tom, anything tonight?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
All right, Julie?
No, I don't have anything.
Liz?
Just want to wish everybody a happy and safe Labor Day and start to the school year. And also congratulations to Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce on their engagement.
Excellent, excellent.
She got to jump on you.
She did. I just wanted to note just one item this evening. A couple days ago, our town historian, Alec McMillan, passed away. Alec was just, a wonderful guy, a very accomplished individual, Harvard graduate, Michigan Law, just did so much in his career, but he did so much for the town. And he was on the zoning board. He was so dedicated to our history. He created the historic districts that we have. And, him and I became friends through historical initiatives. And we became really close friends. And I just really, really loved getting his perspective on things. And we shared a very similar interest with Benjamin Lincoln and his contributions to the country and to the town. And just wanted to know, I was walking my dog this morning and I was thinking of him because he was the individual who really pushed the MBTA to put the train underground. And a lot of people credit him with, kind of saving the downtown and keeping the downtown the way it is. And thought of him today and thinking of his family. And just wanted to note, he was just a wonderful guy who will be missed. And our town is better off because of Alec McMillan. So with that, I would take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Everybody have a great Labor Day weekend.
We recognize that taking time to visit, call, or email our town departments to report issues in Hingham doesn't always fit your schedule. Are you looking for an easier way to communicate with the town? Well, now there's an easier way. With the My Hingham mobile app, you can submit service requests or gain information with just a few taps of your phone. To get started, simply download the My Hingham app from the Apple App Store or Google Play, or simply scan our QR code to get the access to the app that's best for your phone. Once you've opened the app, select the Submit a Service Request button. From there, you can choose the type of request you want to submit, whether it's a pothole, a fallen tree, or something else. You'll then be prompted to take a photo of the issue and provide a brief description. You can also use the app to track the status of your issue and receive updates. Using My Hingham puts immediate access to town resources in the palm of your hand, including calendars of meetings and events, agendas for upcoming meetings, building permit filing options, online bill payment options, information about our boards, committees, departments, and services. So why wait? Download the My Hingham app today and report issues and get information on town government with ease.